Hey guys, how's it going? We're in the process of cleaning out a property. A bunch of old Volkswagen stuff around it. Of course, it's all unknown condition. Dug out some boxes from in front, and there's a couple of engines back here. That's a 36 horse. That is a dual port, like 50 horsepower. That's another 36 horse, I want to say, and then I think there's a 40 on the end down there. But this one looks like somebody actually took a little bit of love to possibly take care of it. I see all the openings have been taped off. Not that it does any good, it's all open from the bottom going up. But I put my hand on the flywheel. It did seem to turn. So I think we're going to go possibly drag that home and see if we can resuscitate it, see what kind of condition it's in. If it's a good runner, we'll kind of recondition it. If not, we'll tear it apart. We'll find out what has happened to it. All right, we're going to go load it on the truck and I'll meet you back at the shop. Hey guys, we are back at the office and we got her on a cart. I'm gonna go get a better look at what we have. I took a quick look at the number. The number is F5. It starts with, and I believe that's gonna be 1967, 1500 cc, 12 volt, single port engine. Probably out of a Beetle is the setup that is on it. And again, to me, it looks like somebody took it out of a car that was probably getting scrapped and just either put it away to get rebuilt or put it away for maybe it was a good engine. I don't know the answer to that. Judging by the fact all these ports are kind of taped off to keep the mice out of it. That doesn't really do anything because the other end's open and all the tins are open underneath. So I don't think that's going to inhibit very much. Like you could tape off those all you want, but the air vent is open right in here, and then all these are also open. So I think we're going to go and see what we got, see if it is a viable running engine, or we're going to have to go repair it, or if it's totally junk. One way or another, we're going to go figure that out. It did come with a car, and the car is probably in worse shape than that, and it's an oddball car, but that is for another video. And we're going to go try and concentrate on this one for now. I have an engine stand. I don't know what's better, to put it in the stand or work off that cart. Stand is right there. Let's go put it in the stand, but first let's get this clutch out of our way. I don't know what the tape is there for. Let's get that out of the way now because we won't be able to have access to the flywheel once the part is put on there. So let's go get that out of our way and we'll continue on. Let's see how many of these we could fill up over the course. Usually when you take a pressure plate off, you kind of do it evenly. I'm pretty sure this is going to be junk, so I'm just going to buzz them all out. See what that looks like. That has been sitting an awfully long time to actually rot the flywheel. Ooh. Yeah, she's in good condition. Hopefully the inside of the cylinders don't look like that. Kind of almost looks like it went underwater a little bit. So there's a thing called end play, and it's the crankshaft. How much play is in the crankshaft? We're going to go take a quick little feel. There's like a clunk that'll happen back and forth. You got to kind of use like some big screwdrivers. Let me go grab some. And you can kind of walk the flywheel back. Hear that little clunk? Well, if they're really bad, it'll be a loud clunk. It'll travel a great distance. So I'm going to put one in the front, one in the back. Kind of push things back and forward. It really doesn't feel bad. Yet some you could, you visibly can see, an 1/8 inch gap. The crankshaft is just wore right out of it. Good. Let's get the bracket on for the stand, and we'll pop it in there. Here's that bracket assembly I was talking about for the engine stand. And it depends on what you're going to do with it. So we're going to probably want to try to crank it with a starter. So we're going to hang it off of this side because the starter normally is on this side. So let's get that mounted up. The studs are missing on the bottom, but we should be able to put a bolt in there. Usually there's 2 studs hanging out of the bottom and then a clamp on top. You'll be able to snake that right on there. And then let down the table. And we should be on the buggy. It's kind of flimsy, don't it? They hold up pretty good. Let's get rid of some of the extremities on it that we don't need. Let's go with the oil bath air cleaner. Well, you can put tape underneath it. That part's good. Oh, if it helped at all. Bottle still moves. This stuff's going to make much of a difference. I'm not going to play with anything that we got. Let's just take some of the light stuff off. It looks like the belt is loose for the flywheel. Let's get the plugs out of it. Actually, just pop the distributor cap open real quick and see what it looks like. See how far the corrosion went, you know. That's not a good sign. They're hard to get off. They're rusted. Get rid of that. Sometimes they have a mechanical advance down below. You can kind of feel it move. It feels like that is frozen on here. We'll leave that cap off of there. Yeah, let's go get the plug wires off of it and get the plugs out. I don't see any nest material in there. That's partially a good sign. Yeah, 1500 is pretty. It's a good engine. I think you can take all the 1600 stuff and put it on this 15. That's not a good sign. See what this one has to offer. Yeah. So they're going to come out with the threads. You thought it was going to be an easy one. Nope. Let's go get a breaker bar set up and get some torque on those. Hopefully they come out. They're probably going to pull the threads out with them. Let's see what we get. Yeah, unfortunately, steel and aluminum don't play together well. They've been sitting for a long time. It was a common thing that at some point to put antifreeze, anti-seize on them. That one's not happening. Yep. All right, you're gonna have to increase the beatings. Yeah, judging by the rust that's on this one, my thought is probably pretty accurate. It was probably a junk car that was sitting and they pulled the engine out. Let's go see half inch. I'm afraid we're going to snap the plug right off, but oil soaking it's not going to do anything because you literally have aluminum that has adhered itself to the steel. So the aluminum is going to come out in the threads. Get back. Sometimes you get, you can run a thread chaser through them, and then sometimes you have to put a helicoil in to kind of fix it. Let's go see what we get. Doesn't, yeah. You can see a little bit of a transfer on it. Sometimes you'll see all the threads will just be packed with aluminum. Plug itself looks like it's had some hours on it, a little bit of oil soaking on top of it. Let's try to get the other ones out. Who does number 2 work for? Can you imagine trying to do that in the car? Better than I expected. Not as much oil on that one neither. That one actually wasn't too bad. Compared to the other ones. Usually you crack them loose and you can spin them, you know, by hand. Yeah, this engine's probably not been running 40 years and parked in a wet climate. Yeah, that one actually looks like it has anti-seize on it. Maybe that's the difference. You actually can kind of see a little bit of something. Yeah, it's got anti-seize on it. That's the difference. That plug made compared to the other ones. Yeah. Get some oil down those holes. Actually, pop the valve cover off first and see what they look like. So they're seized on the corners. This usually tells a lot how much the engine's been run, by how clean and dirty it is in here. It doesn't look terrible. Actually, does not look better than I expected. Because we're going to watch for hung up valves. Let's go pop the one off the other side. See what that one looks like. So you got dropped on its corner here. I think someone's either had it apart before or tried to take it apart because there's broken screws missing. Got a hole in the valve cover right there, right through it. Yeah. There's a hole right through the valve cover right there. It is missing. Oh, that's not good. We got issues. It may have just fallen apart. This thing was probably taken out. It was knocking like crazy. So why do you say that? I'll show you why. Okay. These are the adjusters for the valves. That one's missing. And it's laying down here. So that was a very noisy engine. And may have been like why it was pulled, and who knows. I don't know yeah, we're just kind of guessing right now, but that's an issue. It could have also possibly dropped that valve. I am sure that we're going to find out. Let's again go with putting some oil. I'm also looking at the push rods. I'm looking at the head bolts behind it and see if any of those have backed off. It's common for a Volkswagen to pull what's called engine studs, which are these back here. And you'll see it pulled away. Either the nut will be off or somebody tried torquing it down. You'll see a lot more threads than what are showing on those. They look okay. Except for that. But how long they ran it like that, you actually see the threads are gone on the end of that. Because that would have had to walk out. And it would probably sat like that for the longest time. Oh, that's why the hole's in the valve cover. It backed up and smashed into the valve cover. Where'd it go? Right there. Yeah, so that was hammering into the valve cover. Put a hole in it. Yeah. All right. So what else we find? Let's go back to spraying oil in the cylinders. So normally I spray oil in there. I'm kind of switching over. I'm trying to go with this. It's like a fogging oil. This is when you put an engine away, what you're supposed to use. Stops corrosion in stored engines. Engine was stored. Will it stop the corrosion? So again, it's just what's called a fogger. We're going to let that kind of, I'm sure, down in those cylinders is a bunch of rust, judging by how those plugs came out. So it gives when the piston starts to go move, it'll give something to help kind of break the rust corrosion up without kind of crunching on the rings, hopefully. Let's go hit the other side. Get in there. And it's kind of like a foam. That's what it looks like when it comes out. So it kind of sprays around the center of it, not just sitting on the bottom of it. Let's get a wrench and put it on the engine. We'll try to crank it completely around a full cycle and see if we run into anything. Yeah, we want to try to make it 2 times around on the bottom pulley. Because 2 times around on the bottom pulley, which is the crank, is 1 time around on the camshaft. That means it went all the way around with the valves opening and closing. Let's see what we get. I know it turned a hair because I grabbed the flywheel when it was sitting. Stopping right there. We might be hitting a valve. Let's get rid of this top assembly. Get the generator out of the picture. So somebody already had it. Kind of flopping. They're shims. The shims are how you adjust the belt. And you can barely see it. You guys are snoozing on me. Let me lift your head up. Get out. Slackers. Try to take this pan off so we can put a socket on it. So we are hitting, what we do that other mark with? Silver. So let's go with black. We know it's hitting right there. Let's try walking it back the other way. Sometimes it'll clear itself too. Yep. So that's it right there. We're hitting a wall. So that could be just crap in one of the cylinders. I mean, it could be totally blown up. It could have a valve that let go. Might have just made it past where we were. So we went 360, but stop right there. And keep working it. See if we can get a revolution out of it. Yeah, so we make it within, we go 350 degrees. I'm thinking let's go take the rocker assemblies off. One more time. Yeah, this is the timing mark. We're coming right back to that time mark. Let's get the rocker assemblies off so all the valves can lift up. We'll see if one is sitting in, possibly hitting a piston. I tilted up, it's pissing some oil out of it. Just fine. I don't see any water coming out. That's a good sign. Got it beat up looking underneath there. You can see all the pans are all distorted. Should be a thermostat back in there. It's missing. How's our exhaust looking? Rusty. Okay, let's continue on. Let's go get this out of our way. This assembly. We'll see if all these valves come up even. I am looking to see if all these valves are level, one's not pushed in or one doesn't come out further. One came out further than the others, that means we would have dropped the valve. Push rods, if you have any bent ones. And I'm more concerned about that other side. That looks pretty good. That one's got some weird kind of, I don't know what's happening on that one. That was what, number 2? Keep an eye on that one. Let's go check on our problem child. Usually it's number 3 cylinder that has a problem. They have a an overheating issue on that cylinder. Good. They're all looking level. We can grab them, kind of rock them back and forth and all. See if this push rod's bent. No, good. I'm going to go take a little mallet. We're just going to tap on the end of each one of these, see if they move. Good. And check the other side. All the valves are free and they are even. So I think what we're dealing with it not turning over all the way is more than likely we're just dealing with rust on the top of the cylinder that is not allowing it to go back and forth. So I'm gonna go take this belly pan out of here. This right here. Let's get this out of our way. We could put a socket on it with a breaker bar. That way we can kind of like bounce it against the restriction. And like I said, like the rust will break through on the ring and hopefully we can make a pass through it. I remember a long, long time ago when I had no money. Not that I have a ton now, but I had a blown up VW engine. It was, let me say, a 1500 or 1600 single port. They made, so 1600 is kind of the biggest Beetle engine it goes, all the way up in the 70s and all. And they had dual port. Dual port means going into the cylinder head there was 2 ports on each side. Single port means there's a single port going in each side. As you hear people call that out. This being a single port 1500. The pipe right here you see going down the intake manifold only has 1 pipe on it. A dual port will have 2. Well, they made a single port 1600 and a dual port 1600. I forget which way it was. It was a single port, but I ended up putting 1500 head and cylinders on one side and a 1600 head and cylinders on the other side. And I gotta tell you, it ran perfectly fine. You couldn't, like if I didn't tell you, you wouldn't have known. It wasn't no imbalance or anything. And that thing ran for a long time that way. I think I ended up putting it, I had it in a 68 VW bus. I would say I was probably 17 or 18 in that area. A couple more screws will get that pan out of there. And of course it was a rust bucket. And I wanted leftover paint from something. I had brown spray paint and gold spray paint. So I painted it brown with a gold roof. And it was hideous. But it was also a car that drove around, so. All right, now we can go get a breaker bar and a socket on that and rock it back and forth. And see if we can get it to go through. I think I might have just did it. Nice, it feels actually pretty good. Kind of feeling for clunks on the bottom end. Like I feel like the piston resistance. You know, it's still chalky in movement. A little clunky. Hear it? So right at, say, 730 and 180 out from that. So it may have a bad rod, or maybe just that one piston that's coming up and making contact with some crud on the cylinder head. I think half the oil is out of it. I don't know if we want to change that yet. We put a starter on it and spin it. You could put some crap oil in it. Leave the valve covers off. Let's go get a starter set up on the back of it. And that way we can kind of give her some spin. We'll see if we can get some oil pressure out of it. And up here in my stash, I have Should be two different ones. Should be one set up for 6 volt and one for 12. That is the 6 volt one, and somewhere it's probably on the back of an engine maybe. Should be a 12 volt one. We'll go find that. I know it's on a green, I can picture it. It's on a green section of transmission. Where are you? I remember where it is. It's on this big mother of an engine. There she is. Let's go get that assembly out of there. So the difference between a 6 volt and a 12 volt, you mentioned the flywheel's a different size. The flywheel on a 12 volt is bigger than the flywheel on a 6 volt. And so because of that, that gear is smaller on the 12 volt because the flywheel's bigger. The other gear, the fixed dimension, has to be smaller. And also there's a pilot bearing that the starter goes into, which is also a different size. And you could take any 6 volt VW Beetle transmission and put a 12 volt one in it. You just have to do some modifications. Forgot that doesn't have a stud down below. We got to get another bolt for down there. You could put, this is part of a transmission right here, either 6 volt or 12, I'm not sure. The clearance is very close. What you got to do is you got to kind of grind out the bell housing just a little bit and change that bushing, and then you could switch everything over to put essentially a 12 volt engine in a 6 volt car, which is very common to do. Get more power out of it. I've showed this many times, but I'm going to show it again. This is how to make the starter work and how to crank the engine. We have that mounted on the section of transmission cut away with a starter mounted to it, just like it would be if there was an actual transmission here. There's a big stud, thank you, sitting off the back of the starter. That is where the hot wire from your battery, this is going to be our battery, would connect to the starter. Well, this is a solenoid, and if you put 12 volts from this hot lead to this terminal, it'll engage the starter. Ground is already connected on the other side. We're going to use a jumper wire instead of trying to hit it with a screwdriver. We're going to put a jumper button on it. So we're going to get 12 volts on one side of the button. Kind of, sort of. The terminal's messed up. Yeah, it's probably going to fall off, so I'll get it better in a second, but just for display purposes, let's go get that fixed. And put that on there. So essentially we're just going to complete that circuit, and it should spin that starter. We're going to turn power on, and we hit the button, it should spin. Should. There we go. Alright, good. Let's go work it for a little bit. And I want to put a test light on the oil pressure switch, and we're going to go see, first of all, if that switch is working, and if the oil light goes out, we're kind of generating oil pressure. If it's not, we're going to look into what's going on. Let's go get rid of the rotor. Just kind of set the cap on it, because the oil pressure switch is behind it. It's back here. That's the oil pressure switch. So we're going to go take a test light. One side of the test light, we have to put the power, and the other side is going to be ground. So I'm going to tap on that same connector that had power. So anywhere I touch that's ground on here should light this light up. There we go. Let me get rid of the other light. So eventually, anything I touch that is a good ground should light that light up. Should. Touch the block, whatever. So that oil pressure switch right now, I should touch it, the light should be lit. It's the same as you turning the key on and the light lighting up on your dashboard. So we're going to go crank it, and when we see that light goes out saying that it has built oil pressure. I'll find the button. Alright, so hopefully that light goes out in about 10 seconds or so. And it comes right back on. Let's crank it again. So we are building oil pressure. Awesome. That is very good. I'm happy for that. Yes, yes I am. Alright, we can, the cylinders actually sound pretty good. Maybe we're going to go with putting the rocker assemblies back on, and we'll adjust the valves. And maybe we'll try doing a compression test and see what we got. And we got other stuff to kind of look into to get in spark and fuel and all that kind of thing. But right now we're just trying to assess the main engine part of it to see if, you know, we have a decent engine. And compression is going to tell us if that is decent. It may be a little crappy at first because any valve that was left open is going to have rust around the edges of it. So until that valve works a little bit, which they haven't at all yet, has, you know, kind of tapped themselves into the seat and get the crud off of them, the compression may be low. Usually once you start it up though, and you know, you're figure at 1,000 RPMs, things going 1,000 times a minute up and down, so rotations per minute, so that valve is opening that many times. So let's work on getting those assemblies on. We got to go find some hardware for the one that was kind of messed up, and we'll get the rocker assemblies back on. We'll adjust the valves, and we'll try sticking a compression. Actually, we'll crank it with just the valves in and let it work a little bit, and then maybe do a compression test. I think I was saying earlier, we were talking about the checking to see if the head studs pulled. You'll see them kind of pull away. Now's a good time to kind of retorque those. Volkswagen's kind of came out with two different sizes. One's a 8mm stud, one's a 10mm stud. If you're not sure what size you got, take a 10mm wrench or an 8mm wrench. Like, we're getting towards the end of it, but that 10mm should kind of just fit on there with just a little bit of movement, hence 10mm. Again, if you go to put on an 8, or if you try to put an 8mm wrench on that, it's not going to fit. I know by looking at it, but anyway, so there's two different torques for them. The smaller one are 18mm, and the larger one being these are 23mm? No, 23 foot-pounds of torque. Sorry. So these are at 20, going to be torqued to 23. I'm going to hit the center ones. It should, if anything, just kind of move a little bit and click, or not at all. So that one's good. There's 4 up top also that you can't see. They're up in here. If you take the tins further apart, you get to them. It's not much. You know, people, if they don't use a torque wrench, you start cranking down on these studs will pull right out of the block, and then you're kind of in a world of crap. There's some fixes for it. You can put inserts in it if you tear the engine all the way down, or they have oversized head stud bolt on the other end of it. It kind of looks like a tap. It threads its own hole going in a little bit larger and bites on. And this is cylinder 3 and 4. These are generally the side that has a failure. Could be either one, but this side runs a little bit hotter. A lot of times you'll see it. You pop the valve cover off, and sometimes see, this one's going. Please click. This one. So this one might be failing. If not, they start ripping out. Again, it's a pain in the ass. But that is squeezing. There's no head gaskets. It's just metal. The steel of the jug against the aluminum of the cylinder head. There's no gasket in between there, so you'll get something what's called blow-by. You'll have a head gasket leak. There's no coolant there, so you don't know it like a regular car where you think a head gasket leak. But you'll get exhaust, like every time the engine fires and you're revving it up, exhaust will escape through that crack that's in there. It'll sound like you have an exhaust leak, but you don't. You have a cylinder head to cylinder leak. All right, now we're going to go put those rocker assemblies on there and adjust the valves. We are going to go. I'm going to bolt them all up, get them on there. I'm going to back off all the adjusters, and we'll go to each. We'll spin it, and we'll go to each cylinder. And I'm just going to bolt them up. I know I keep changing my mind. We're just going to bolt them up, let them spin, because I want the valves to kind of hammer a little bit so that they are seated correctly. Probably have to do the valve adjustment again later, but let's go see. These are called push rods, and they are hollow on the inside. The lifter is down below. The lifter has oil coming out of the center of it, and oil will come out of these, and it helps oil the rocker assembly. And here's that assembly that we took off of there. I'm not worried about cleaning much stuff up yet. I gotta go find a fresh one on one of those. And we are looking for a rocker assembly that we can steal See, that's a larger head, but that's a dual port. And that's a single port. And this one has a drop valve. Yes, it does. That's what a drop valve would look like. It's missing on the end of it. And it looks like that right there. That might be just flipped over. I think it is. And what? It dropped the valve in that cylinder. That's what that head got removed for. But it's good for parts. And parts. And more parts. And we have cylinder heads up here. And we need a rocker assembly somewhere. Anybody? Anybody? Really? I know I got one somewhere. Where are you hiding? We got in the stash over here. Here's a rocker assembly, right? There, let's go bring that down. We'll take one of those out of there. We'll just leave that loose. Bolt them back down and make sure you get all the push rods on where they need to go. We got the valve assemblies back on. Let's go crank it by hand, make sure we're not going to hit anything. Shouldn't. Good. But now we're firing the valves, you know. Alright, let's go fire it up and spin it a little bit and let those valves do their thing. Let's go wash the valves on the side here. That's the one that was wacky. I didn't get it tight all the way. See it? You're not doing it right. Might see oil eventually kind of coming out of them. That's going to take a little while because each one of those tubes got to fill up. See, they are spinning though. Eyeball the other side real quick. Yeah, let's go adjust them up and we'll do a compression test. Maybe like see, you're starting to drip oil. Starting to push it out now. So I want to go adjust the valves, and the way I go about it, I've shown it many a times, quick and dirty. So I'm going to look at the distributor cap real quick first. You see these two wires are going to the right hand side of the engine, which is number 1 and number 2 cylinder. I always remember the firing order, because I am dyslexic, backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is number 1 cylinder, because it would be the first wire, and then number 2. That's how I already know. There is alternate location where they can be depending on the engine. Number 1 cylinder could be here, or it could be here. On this one is here. There's actually a mark, a little mark in the distributor right there. So to be sure I am doing the right cylinder, I'm going to put the rotor on. I'm going to point that rotor towards that plug wire. I'm going to point that rotor right at it. I can adjust number 1 cylinder. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. That'll be number 2 cylinder, I'll adjust. Number 3 cylinder, 180 across. And then when the rotor is facing, when you turn it, and the rotor is at 270, essentially it's going to be looking like that. That'll adjust number 4 cylinder. But we're going to start with number 1. And the back cylinder, which you would, this is number 1 cylinder. And you're going to want to set them up for 6 thousandths play at that point. Again, I do think that after it runs, they're probably going to seat back a little further. But right now, they are super loose. So you want a 6 thousandths feeler gauge. You want a good screwdriver and a good 13mm wrench. Sometimes these will bind up on each other. I'm just going to go and crack them loose. I leave the wrench right on it. And I am going to set it up just so there's some drag on that feeler gauge. I'm going to run the center in. So the jam nut is loose. Again, sometimes they'll bind on each other. See, that one I'm able to back off, which is good. So I'm going to run that. Kind of back it off just so I have some a little bit of drag on it. It feels pretty good right there. When you tighten it down, generally it gets a little looser. Try to hold it from sliding on you. I'm not going to be that crazy about it right now because I know we're going to come back and readjust them because I know they're going to settle. But I'm going to do that to every cylinder, both valves. I'm going to rotate that rotor 90 degrees, do number 2 cylinder, and then do the 2 on the other side. You get the idea, right? We don't have to show them all. We're working on number 3 cylinder. And the jam nut's loose, but the center bound up. Sometimes, what happens, essentially there's a varnish that's there. Let's go see if we can. Sometimes you put a shock down it, or allow it to go. Sometimes. We're going to keep escalating. Put heat on it too and try to cook it up. So this thing is called shake and break. Just this part. This is a regular air hammer. The idea is you have a handle you can kind of put on it. You throw some vibrations into it and break it loose. The problem is this is kind of bouncy off the valve. Let's go just see what happens. You know, if it was a screw like up in here or something like that, it works very well. It may not work on this though. So we'll give her some rat-a-tats. I'm trying to twist it while I'm doing it. There it goes. Oh, we got it freed up. I'm actually going to go pull that all the way out of there and hit it on a wire wheel, get some of that varnish off of it. Pretty neat tool. You can use it, and you put like sockets and stuff on it too if you want. Shake and bake. I want to say shake and break is the correct word. Shake and bake is a from the comedy movie. Yeah, so I'm going to go clean those threads up on a wire wheel, get some of the crap that caused them to bind up. Good. So we're going to get it ready for a compression test. Let's go get rid of the return spring. Probably have to jam something in there though. Let's go see if the throttle will stay open. Okay. The choke's open too. Just so air can flow through on the intake side, not kind of restrict our numbers. What do you think we're going to get? I'm going to say we're going to be 75 to 90 psi. And then we're going to go after we run it, and I'm just hopeful that we're going to be up around 110 to 120 after it runs a little bit. Generally, you want the numbers fairly even, but once you get below, say 90, 80, once you're below 90 pounds, the engine's pretty much wore out. You're not building much compression. Again, the valves are kind of crappy and everything's kind of crappy, so I suspect we're going to get one number, we're going to run it, and they should improve. Or they're just not that cruddy right now, and the oil that we put in there actually kind of, polished everything up. Let's go find out. We're going to go number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, get some readings. We can leave the valve covers off. It's not going to hurt anything. See how well this threads into those. Remember those plugs came out like crap. Definitely think some oil on those, they may be okay. jumper pack's probably going to give out halfway through this too. Let's go see what we got. Number 1. 50. Alright. Like I said, not even 45. But I'm hoping that when we get the fire up, and when you get the fire to happen in the cylinder, you know, the pressure against the valve pushing up gets greatly increased. It helps seat it. Plus, you know, just fuel and stuff flowing through the valves, and the valves kind of, you know, hitting a bunch of times. That'll help seat it. Maybe. No promises on that, right? All right. $40. Getting better. I've also had issues with like compression gauges and stuff too. Like some give me a false reading. I think we're comparing apples to apples. Number 3. 60. Which is funny because that's usually the worst cylinder. And then the one that had the valve hanging, the valve adjuster hanging on it. So we got a minute. So 60 and 45. It may be so low that it doesn't want to fire, but let's go see. We'll start looking into. I am going to wire wheel the spark plugs that came out of it, clean up the threads, put a little bit of oil on each one of them, see if we can get them to thread in without that tight drag that was on it. Just putting the spark plugs in alone sometimes also helps get the compression over a little bit, and then we'll start looking into the distributor and all that and see what we got for spark. If we can get spark, we can dump a little fuel down it, try to get it to fire. Hey, well, again, one of them had anti-seize on it, but I cleaned them up in a wire. Let's go see how they want to play with going back in. How chalky it is, you know. Much better. Again, I think with some, you know, when it's on its final thing, we'll throw an anti-seize on them. But that's one anyway. So number 2 goes. Oh yeah, good. Yeah, let's go listen to what the plug's in it, see if what kind of resistance we get. Should hear it kind of like hit the compression. Doesn't sound bad. You know when you hear go, you know, one cylinder skipping? No, we're not getting that. Let's go figure out what we got going on inside our distributor for spark. I'm sure those points, yeah, those, the ones that have the white crud hanging off them, they're not going to work for us. Those are not going to produce very much spark. I'm actually going to pull them right out of there, try cleaning them up. If I have another set, I'll throw them in. I'm not sure if I do. There's different styles. Funny how this was probably considered a low maintenance car back in the day compared to today, though. It's every 6,000 miles we're supposed to do points. Every 3,000 you did an oil change. Every 6,000 you adjusted the valves, points in and plugs. Yeah, they are when it's crumbling, snow, and your points are snowing. You got a big old stalactite sticking off of there. Alright, let's go clean them up. I'm actually going to look up real quick, see if I have a new set. If not, we'll throw these back in. I also noticed that that advance kind of did turn and went back. Maybe because it's spinning a little bit now. So that'd be this is the vacuum advance. Should rotate it. It is staying where it is though. So the vacuum advance which is this diaphragm right here. When it draws vacuum, when the carburetor draws vacuum, it's supposed to advance the timing. And right now, it is just pretty much staying wherever you put it. Let's go, without taking it out of there, maybe we can go kind of throw some lube on that, see if it'll do its thing. Where's that fogger? Let's go with fogger. Yeah, I wonder how long this engine sat. It'll work into that pivot. Because it should return on its own. It's kind of wanting to. That spring is supposed to be able to return it. A lot faster than that though. This is starting to work. Then we have to check and see if that diaphragm is any good. Inside this can right here is a diaphragm. And you pull vacuum on it and it'll pull the thing in. A lot of times the diaphragm that's in here ruptures and it doesn't do anything. It causes actually an intake leak. Soak that baby. Get a nice thin oil to get in there, you know. Let that do its thing for a little bit. Let's go hook a vacuum hose up to that and we'll draw on it. We'll see if the chamber's holding. Yeah, we're gonna get up and personal with it. We'll put this end on it. Yeah. Yep, it's holding. Good. So they're getting a little pricey, a little hard to find. A lot of problem, what happens is, so this is the vacuum hose that runs it. You see how it has that hoop up in it? Up here, so here's the carburetor and goes up to a hoop and it drops back down. This hoop is to keep gas fumes, gas particles. They'll kind of rise up, but they'll run back to the carburetor. A lot of people put a hose on it and they eliminate the circle. What happens is the gas actually runs down the tube and it rots out the diaphragm. That's why from the factory they put that little loop up inside there. And this cabinet upstairs is part of my VW stash. Has a little bit of everything in it for Volkswagen related things. And we are looking for the one with, I think we need the wire to go straight down like that. That is not it. That's the other style. You could make it work if you have to, but it's not right. Those are later style, I want to say. We might be cleaning these up. Matter of fact, I know we're cleaning these up. It's repairing it. Yeah, that's the other style. You can see the tab is up top. It's not dropping down in a hole. Note to self. I gotta get some of them. Alright, let's go clean them up. This little tool is a screw holder, regular screw, Phillips screw on the other end. Give them a little twist. That way you can kind of hold on to the screw while you're trying to get down in the distributor, put the points on, without trying to, hog onto it. If you can see it where you are, there's a bunch of rust on that cam. I'm going to just kind of clean it up a little. That should have a little bit of grease on it. Keep the tab and the points from burning up. Very little. Like a skim coat. I'll wet that down with a rag. Leave all the oil down below. It's not going to hurt it. Kind of needs it. over time, maybe it'll help it. I do gotta, where the wire is, I've got a little bit of a puddle there. I'm gonna probably blow that out with an air gun. I'll try to keep your eyeballs away from it. Can't get you over the top. Get close enough to see what I'm doing. So you don't want anything on the points themselves. Those you want clean, because oil will make them not play well. Alright, just get the screw started. And I'm going to rotate it till that cam is on the top of that tab. Oh, you're not going to be able to probably see that. See it a little bit. Alright. So it's all the way open, and I'm going to go take a feeler gauge in there at 16 thousandths, and I could rock this side of the points, can move in and out to adjustment off. There's like a little fork. I'll show you the fork. Get something to point with. See the little fork that's bent apart? It shouldn't be like that. Well, you can stick a screwdriver in there to the points, and you could turn it, and it'll open and close the points. Like right now, our gap is 50 thousandths. We want to close that up, so you could take a screwdriver. You can shove it in there and close that up. It's about 16. That's about, I'm going to use the feeler gauge. But see, right about there is probably about 16. And then tighten that screw up. That'll be our point gap. A lot of people forget to clean the feeler gauge too. I wiped it off with the cleaner. How close did I get? Too tight, kinda. Problem is, these are old points, and there's a tab in the middle of them, like a crater. That's kind of throwing the measurement off a little bit. Let's go open a little more. If I go past that, I can feel the points. See how the points pop open? But there's a crater on one side and a mountain on the other, kind of screwing it up. That's why I wanted to put new ones in. We're going to leave it like that for now. Not crazy about how those points kind of want to return. Because that's your timing right there, you know. Okay. Again, we're just doing an assessment, see what we got to run. We're not restoring it yet. Alright, let's go throw the rotor back on it. And we're going to try hooking power to that coil. And I'm going to see if we get any kind of spark at the end game. So what happens is, from those points, there's a wire running up to the coil, kind of like the ground side if you want to call it. And then we're going to put 12 volts to this side of the coil, coming off that jumper pack that was on the back there. We're going to run a wire over here with 12 volts on it. We'll spin it, and we should get spark coming out of the coil wire or plug wire, either way. Both, hopefully. If not, we got to investigate more, but let's go hook power to it, crank it, see if we get anything. So I went upstairs to go get a spark plug. And because I want to test, you know, I'm going to put a plug on the end of one of the wires. And right next to the spark plugs was points for 61 to 67 VW, the correct ones. You tell me. Let's go throw that on end up a wire, see if we get anything. And again, I'm going to join on the party over here somewhere, and we are going to attach a lead. I think it's got it. That's hot. We're going to run that over to the coil. See if it arcs at all. Sometimes that's a good sign. Nothing yet. Alright, let's go crank it and see if we get any spark coming out of that setup. Right there. Nothing, honey. Make sure I got 12 volts coming over here. We are going to arc it on the tin. Yep. The power was going through the coil. We just got an issue inside there. Could be a bunch of different things. Could be the condenser. Could be the points are still bad. Could be that the coil's no good. We'll find out. Get this strange feeling. I never plugged that wire in on the points. You watched me, right? No, it's on there. So we should be able to, I don't think those points are closing on us. Let's go turn it a little bit. I think they have such a big pit in the center. Yeah. Kill the light. We have power to the coil? Yes, we do. So we should get arcing on that. Let's go push. Yeah, we got nothing. That should be sparking, and it's not. Let's go throw the other points in it. We got them. Let's try them. Those points won't fit. There's a post that is not in it. So I'm checking. I took the wire off, coming off the condenser, just making sure that we're not grounded out. Should kind of get like a, you can kind of see the condenser will load up and then go to open. Either event, it's got an open circuit right now. If that would have showed like all zeros or close to all zeros, we would have had a ground issue. And we don't, so that's good. So I took the other points, I cleaned them back up. Let's go drop them back in again. We could probably also test them for opening and closing on this wire, if the circuit is opening and closing. Yeah, this time I took them apart and I ground that tit that was in there off. You can see we got a good feel now. And the points don't jump when you open it. See if that makes any difference for us. Again, sometimes you got to check it after you tighten it. We're good. All right, before we put the rotor and stuff back on, let's go take the ohm meter. We'll hook back up to this wire and ground, and we'll open and close the points. That meter should open and close and make sure that circuit is working. All right, so we're going to ground somewhere. It doesn't matter really. Do it off the distributor. Into that wire. Right now the points are open. It should say, can you read that? Then if we turn that to the points close, we should get a closed circuit, which is right about now. Make sure we got a good ground. Yes, it's all zeros. I think my battery's about done. So let's go there. Okay. And then if I open the points, should go to open loop, close it, go to 0. All right, so we know that part of it's working. Let's go hook it back up again. We'll crank it, see if we get any spark. If not, I'm going to suspect the coil. Should actually be able to open those points a little bit right now and get a little bit of spark out of them. There we go. That's better. Yeah, I have a feeling that that mound that was on there was not allowing the points to have contact going across them. All right, you ready? I'm gonna look right there. I see spark. I think our voltage is going down on our jumper pack too. All right, I'm gonna go put the plug wires on all the way around, get us a new voltage supply, and see if we can dribble a little bit of fuel in her. See if anything happens. Who's number 4? Should be number 3 and number 4. You go there. You go there. And 2 on the other side. Maybe they call this the horn. This horn is like a vent, goes right into the float bowl. We are going to go try shoving some gas in the float. There it goes. And a little bit down the center. Let's see if it decides to do anything. We power up. I got a car battery hooked up to it now. It's backing up. Let's go see the fireball. What could possibly go wrong? That's what we need. A full spectrum. And we are going to hook a power. Our crank button is somewhere. Let's see what we get. Kicking. We're popping. It's turning on us. Hold on, let me go pin it down a little bit. Because the problem is we're dumping raw fuel in, and if the motor's leaning, it's only going to run to the one side. Let's go hit it. Again, as the compression comes up too, as they fire a little bit, the compression is going to come up. The problem is there's just not enough compression right now for it to go. But hopefully the more it does those little kicks, it gets a little bit better each time. Once we got one cylinder to go, the other one should kick in. Come on, baby. That's out of gas. I'm kind of wondering if the plugs, the valves are seating themselves. Kind of sound like compression actually went away there at one point. We just go. Should be able to feel them rock. That one's got a ton of play, so that one loosened up. That one's good. Nope, they're good. Give her a little. That gas doesn't look all that great. That's in those bottles, kind of yellow. I'm gonna go get some fresh fuel. The gas that's in these kind of seem yellow. I don't think they're that old, but it definitely is kind of a little less inflammatory than it should be. Let that starter cool off a little bit, and we'll try it again. Getting there. Yeah, we got some fresh stuff. Let's go try that. Power back to the battery, or where's our jumper button? There. Give her a squirt. There's one going. Let's get it started. One was almost there. Yeah, it starts warm. It's not hot, but it's warm. Let that chill out. I'm going to throw the battery charger on that battery, and we'll kind of let things set up, evaporate a little bit. Possibly we could change the plugs out and clean it a little bit. You heard one on this side. You can kind of tell we're starting to get compression. It just was starting to kick. Then we lost it. Get in there. Come on, baby. You can do it. Hit it again. We can try moving that timing a little bit, but it should be all right from where it was, you know. Give it a break. That's live. Can't have that touch handle. Let's screw with the again, now those points weren't moving back to where they were. We should have no spark right now, we have no power going to it. Let's go. And see if that plate is back all the way. And the other thing we can do too is let's go put it at top dead center on number 1 cylinder. There'll be timing marks. And we're gonna go turn that to number 1. And we'll see where the points are, see where the rotor's pointing. All right, so that's roughly top dead center right there. I think we are 360 out. Yeah, we're pushing the valve down, so we got to go around again. Crank turns twice for every time the cam turns once. So you got to go turn the crank again. You're either going to be on the compression stroke or the exhaust stroke. All right, so right about there. Both valves are free. Put the rotor in it. Okay, essentially, we want that rotor to be facing right at number 1 spark plug wire. Let's see, we're pretty good. Just make sure that advanced plate is back all the way. It is. Yeah. Let it cool down a little bit. If this doesn't go on this time, what happens, you dump a raw fuel into, so it's not atomized very well, and you can kind of hear it, like I'll dump it in, it kind of like fouls it out a little bit, and then it starts to break it up, and then the plug starts firing again, and it starts to take it, and it starts firing on that 1 cylinder. Once you kind of get some revs out of it, we're hoping for good, but it's not a great setup for, you know, again, dripping raw fuel in it because it's not atomized, and then you have a tendency to kind of like foul up the plugs. Or we're letting that cool off and kind of taking a peek around. We're pushing decent oil out of there at some point. Once we get it to fire, I'm not going to run it anymore, but I do see oil we have seeping from behind here. So there is an oil cooler standing up back in here. There's seals in the bottom of it. I have a feeling they have failed, or the oil cooler itself has a crack in it. So we're going to keep an eye on that too. Okay, you ready? Power up the coil. Oops. Power up the coil. Let's go ahead and not put any gas in it yet. We'll see what it does, and then we'll add. This side's kicking in. I'm going to go grab a fresh set of plugs. We'll change them out. Just get the power cool off and charge, do everything that it's doing. And we'll see if that helps it. I have a feeling they're kind of flooded out. They were crappy anyway. You see the shine on there? That's what flooding means. Flooding means that it's arcing out between the two of them, and spark can't happen because it's just so wet, whether it be the oil that we put in there or the fuel not being atomized. Atomized? Yeah. New plugs. That. Power it up. Let's just crank it before we put fuel in it, see if it does anything. Throttle is open too, if you're going to have. They got the throttle open about 15%. Ready. Alright, I can't go anywhere. Let's go let it be. And I'm going to cook it. So close. There's an intake leak right here. I'm going to go plug that. Really shouldn't make any difference because we're not working off the carburetor. We're just dumping raw fuel in it. Carb's not actually functioning at all. I'm going to refill this. We're going to let the battery cool, the starter cool down, and plug that just for shits and giggles. But you see me leaning it a little bit one side to the other because what happens is the fuel goes in, either runs that way or that way. So I'm trying to like leaning it one direction. Its fuel is just running to that side, and lean the other way, it runs to the other side and tries to, fight it out between the two of them. The thing in the back, I can't crank down to keep the engine straight. It's got too much play in it. It's been about a half hour. I actually hit it with I blew air on the starter. And see, it seems like it's fine. People flip out. You crank it, you're going to kill the starter. I bought a box of starters for 10 bucks at a swap meet. And it's one of them. I'm not that concerned about it. I'm not intentionally trying to kill it, but we got to crank it to get the compression up. It's not going to fix itself. So let's take it apart and polish everything. I don't want to do that. All right, where were we? No fuel? Let's try no fuel first. You need more throttle. Let's give it a burp. Hold it wide open. Out with a bang! She's alive. Whoops. Fire breathing dragon. I think the tip of the bottle's on fire too. Alright! Alright. You got her going. I need 3 hands. Alright. You know she'll go. Let me go take a little bit of time and go fancy up some stuff. See if we can run just a little bit more, and then we'll start getting into it. Because we're going to piss a bunch of oil out of it. I don't want to, have it go to the point where it has no oil pressure. But I'm glad everything kind of go seated itself, and the cylinders all got polished up, the rings got freed up, and the valves had a little bit of fire breathing by them. I'm going to try to get it to chooch one more time, and then we'll start getting into actually fixing some stuff to get her to stay running. Where's our start button? So I just filled up the float on the car. Let's see if it'll run off of that. The float bowl, I should say. So I think I ran off the car, kinda, but it started puking some white powder. I don't know if you saw it down below. It was puking a bunch of something out of the heater box. I don't know if it's corrosion or what. It wasn't in the exhaust system itself. It was just leaking right out of the heater box coming down. The oil soaked it up, but it was right there. All right, one more time. Purple haze. Yeah, so it definitely was running off of the carb that I filled up because it just ran for too long. So again, this is just backfeeding that float bowl until it comes out of the top of the horn and we know it's full. Good. So she'll go again. Then maybe we'll do we'll let it sit overnight and maybe we'll do a compression test. That gas is dripping all over it. Get on it. Summertime. Some throttle. What, you don't like us? Got spark, right? We'll give her a little prime. idea what it was doing. Yeah, should go. He's the last of the fuel up. One more time. Because it's fun, that's why. And it uses up whatever fuel's in the float. Awesome. Sounded pretty good too. It sounds even on all the cylinders. You get rid of that. We are going to let it set overnight. Put the battery charger. Fill the battery. No spark plugs to it anymore. And let everything cool off. We will reroute. Maybe we'll do a compression test on it. We'll see what the numbers kind of came up to. It had to come up because it wouldn't have run. Again, it won't run on 50 psi. It's just not enough. But again, once everything sat itself, it was definitely. I don't know what that was. Out of the center of the heater box, it looked like there was so much corrosion shaking out of it and making a pile right down there. I don't know if it came up on camera or not. It was like it was from an episode of Miami Vice or something. Plus, I don't want to run it anymore. We're going to get to the point where the oil's going to be so low, we're going to be you know, not sucking up and building oil pressure. So we'll regroup. We want to get the oil out of it. We're going to get that sealed up. Pop the valve covers on it. We'll seal that up. And we're probably going to take that shroud off. We'll see if that continues. It may not be an issue. It may be an issue. I'm not sure what's happening there with that oil soaking. If it's if we're having a problem with that oil cooler seals leaking. Man, the thing was taken out for that. They thought it had a rod knock for the one lifter. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. Well, it's the next day, getting ready to go film, and this is the camera that we normally use. And I think we scared the hell out of it because it became bug-eyed. It's never come out that far, or the jokes, and is permanently jammed in that location. So I don't know what flipped out on it, if we scared the crap out of it, we're starting an engine or not. But my backup is now in session. So much for that. I probably get about 6-9 months out of a camera. Does not like the environment. Anyhow, let's go get the plugs out of this, and we'll recheck our compression test, see what we get for numbers. Make a guess. I'm going to say, we'll go like the low and the high. I'm going to say the lowest cylinder is going to be 90 pounds. I'll say the highest cylinder is going to be 115. All right, let's give it a shot, see what we get. This is just a partial, but this is kind of the wall of death. So we got 5 or 6 of them, or 7 of them up in here. Broken, 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 and broken. Yeah, that screen's not as busted up. You're looking at the old one, you can see all the weld splatters coming on it. Plugs look pretty decent. They look all crudted up. All right, 3 more to go. And I wonder if we should pull that tin off too to go look into the that oil cooler. All right, number 1 cylinder had 50 psi. Let's see what we get this time around. 100. I like that. Kind of want them even too, you know, like you don't want 140 and then 90. It'll just lope at an idle. Be hard to get the air fuel mix right for it. Let's go see number 2. What's your guess? I'm gonna say 95. We are at 75, 80, 85-ish. I'll go write those down. Let's go bleed out those old numbers. And where's the button? I'm going to call that 95. And before we had 60, and we had 45 pounds on this one before. I still think they'll probably come up more now, the more we kind of run it and do things with it. And last but not least, I'm going to say 100. They're fairly close together, a little on the low side, plus, you know, the accuracy of the gauge, I'm not sure, but we definitely, everything's the same hookup. What we had before and what we have now has definitely been a great improvement. We pretty much doubled. So what did we say we had? 95 and 100, is that right? So I'm not going to readjust the valves. I'm just going to make sure that all of them, I got to turn it each one, that we have clearance. I'll bump it around. If any of them are tight, maybe I'll try to go and readjust them. But let's get some valve covers on them with good gaskets. Got to free up some things. I think that rotted off. It did. That's going to be an issue. That end rotted off, and that end rotted off. Let's go check the other side. I remember we had to kind of twist down on those. I'm afraid to touch it, she said. That one's bound up. I tried shooting some oil, but again, it's steel against aluminum. They do make bolt-on valve covers too that attach to these. Yeah, this side came back. We'll lean it this direction so that oil doesn't piss out. So this is the filter. They're cool. VWs really don't have a regular oil filter on it. Got like a screen that's up inside underneath this plate. There's a drain in the middle. But if you take the whole plate off, there's a filter. And it kind of will give you an indication what shape things are in also by how much gunk, how it was taken care of over the years. So someone lost the nut on this and they put a bolt in it. Hope we can get that out. The broken bail, that's a pain in the ass to take care of. I think that's the right thread. You guys see all right? Let me bring a light over. Spider's pissed off. It may not leak any oil out because it's so far up on an angle. It's got some case rot right here too. She's a peach. Get them all. I heard you. Another bolt. Now. It's not supposed to look like that. just a heads up. And it's really not supposed to look like that. Holy. Ah, it's coming out like poop. It's a shitty motor. So again, like I said, there's a screen that's up here. Maybe we can get it out. There are little grooves on the side. Try to catch one. Usually you can just pop them out with your fingers. Not this one. I have a new one to put in it. Like a strainer. There it goes. Ugh. Yeah. That's pretty nasty. I'm glad it gave us oil pressure. And I don't think the love was given to this engine. You can feel in the bottom of the case, like I feel there's a bunch of crap in the bottom, a lot of mud, like all in this area. Again, normally this is flat. Let's go tilt it back and we'll let what's left in it. Yeah, like it pooped. Let's go tilt it back down, let the oil piss out of it, and we'll throw a new setup in there and throw some oil back in it. Throw it on the tilt. Well, let's let that drain out. Probably would have been good to do that while the engine was hot. But better than nothing, right? It only holds 2.7 quarts. And there's probably about half a quart that already kind of pissed out of it. Nothing to see here. Our mechanics are the finest experts in the land. This exhaust has to get pulled off of here, and those holes have to get drilled out for the bale. And we're not doing that. We're not to that point. But for now, call me named, whatever you like. And that's what we're going to hold the valve cover on for. Come on now. Red Green would be proud. I'm going to go button up the oil strainer, put a new one on, get the valve cover on the other side, and we go continue on our way. Well, not a complete hack, at least I put new valve cover gaskets on it. That's what it's supposed to do. It's like a shiny new penny. Another gasket, and then that plate goes on. I'm going to put the 2 bolts back in it the way it was. Well, I think we should really take a peek at that oil cooler and see what's going on. There's really not much holding it. All we have to do is take the carburetor off, which you kind of got to go do anyway. There's a band on the generator holding the generator to the pedestal, and it'll kind of come with it. And somebody already gutted the thermostat and the housing, so I think we just have a screw on each side. Yeah, they're all missing. Screw on each side, pull the rod out. That's the guide for the throttle cable. And we should be able to just lift that whole housing right off. We'll be able to see that oil cooler. And we'll see if it's pissing some oil that we saw happening right there. You just have to slide that band back. Just has to go back, not too far. About the width of the band. And 2 more screws. And plug wires will kind of want to come with it. Get them popped out of there. We'll take the one off the coil because the coil's going to go with it. Let's get rid of the condenser wire. I think we should have it. There we go. Oh yeah. Some critter nests are in it. Kind of be expected. And rust. We're going to go look at that back. So this is the oil cooler. Air flows through that cooler and it helps it. You definitely see some crud. It's down in there. It definitely looks like it could be the oil cooler itself too. Yeah, but it's looking like the seal. Which is there's 3 screws. One there. There's 2 that come up from the bottom, which are kind of a pain in the ass to get with this tin on here, but we'll work with it. And then there's a couple of just 2 seals sitting on the bottom of that. Generally they harden and stiffen up. I'm gonna go blow this out with compressed air. Probably shove the plugs back in it. Blow it out with compressed air, get some of the crap out of it, and I'll get this oil cooler off. It's kind of a little on the tedious side, because again, without taking the intake manifold and this tin off, there's not much room to work with your nuts down here. Stop it. Yeah, I would definitely say it's a test in dexterity of your fingers. I'm gonna wash it down there. And let's see what we got. Oh yeah. So the oil just goes through these 2 passages, but you can see all this is wet over here. So it was having an issue. Sometimes the cooler itself too can corrode and or crack. But most of the time, like this one, it just sat so long. My guess is that these 2 right here, yes, you 2, they just get brittle. And yeah, it's hard as a rock. They just no longer conceal. You probably could have tried tightening down on the nuts a little bit more, but I have them. You go this far, you might as well just put the seals in. Yeah, that one doesn't even want to play well. Come on. Yeah, it's breaking apart as it's coming out. I'm bending my tool. I hate when that happens. Sometimes. There we go. Again, there's a big fan up top, and those who are not familiar, everybody always talks about why number 3 cylinder. Number 3 cylinder is this cylinder right here. Well, the doghouse, which was that big blower housing that was up top, the fan was on this side, so it can blow air down on these cylinders and cool it off, and then it could blow air down on the other side and cool these cylinders off. But the oil cooler, it blows air through the oil cooler first and then down into these cylinders. And when it does that, it restricts the airflow to this side. And this side always runs hotter. That's why you always kind of expect to have a problem more on this side than the other. Later on, they made an offset. They took the oil cooler and they kicked it to the side like that. And then there's an extension on the back of the shroud on the engine that allows some air to get diverted and cool the oil cooler off, but still get full flow going to these other 2 cylinders. I'm gonna go up my stash, look for a couple of those seals to go in there, and I'll put that back together, and then the oil should stay in it for the most part. Yeah, you can see it on this one. See how there's an offset? That's where the oil cooler now is sitting racked to the side, and then air can just come right out of here, but at the same token, all the full airflow can come down on the 2 jugs and cool that side of it. Here's another one we did a long time ago. Kind of like the same idea, went through it, and it is pretty much waiting and starting. I think it needed a carb. Didn't want to idle. Carb hesitates idles something or other. That one's waiting, it's trying to go in something too. Maybe we did a compression test on this one. What does this one have? 130, 120, 115, and 130. I don't know what year this one is. It's also probably the same thing, 1500 or 1600. This one is a B, so this is a 1600 single port. Pretty much the same idea, but it's a little bit larger. Let's go oil seal shopping. Should be a couple of engine gasket sets here. Should be a whole thing. And there's a bag. There's different sizes, depending on what size oil cooler it is, but that's them right there. And they're non-petrified, and that's sort of larger cooler. Non-petrified style. You can actually squish these down. Squish them down. I don't think I'm going to put the blower housing back on it because I think we're going to keep an eye on that oil cooler just in case it does have a rupture. Again, it is somewhat common for them to do that. So it can have a failure somewhere else and we put the cover on. We're not going to be able to see it. And we should be able, you could run this engine without a load on it. 10 minutes, you're not going to overheat it. Let's go look into the carburetor. We can put that back on. Everything else, I got the coil clamped, so that'll make spark. If we get the carburetor doing what it's supposed to be doing and be able to gravity feed that, we should be able to fire it up like it is. You may want to put oil on it. Let's go see what that looks like. It's some mud in it. What do you expect? All right, so I'm going to dump some oil in there too, and we'll make sure it doesn't piss out anywhere else. And we'll pop the top of that carburetor off, take a peek inside, and maybe soak that up, and maybe put a carburetor kit in it. Let's go crack the inside of that carburetor open real quick. And we'll see what it looks like. Again, it all depends on whether it was taken out with bad fuel in it or not. We added gas to it, so it's probably already got a bit of a moisture content, we'll call it. Stinking tape. All right. 5 screws essentially takes it apart. There we go. Really not too bad. There's the red color is the fuel that I put in it. Let's go dump that out. Yeah, it really doesn't have a ton of dirt in it. I'm still gonna go take it apart. There's jets to go clean there. Take this out. It's the idle shut off and power goes away. There's an accelerator pump inside here and an air fuel mix right here. So I'm gonna go jump ahead. I'm gonna go take a bunch of stuff off of here. We'll get it soaking a little bit. I'm gonna go grab lunch. We'll come back, put it back together, and we'll see what the thing does. Got the accelerator pump out of it. That definitely puked out a bunch of rust. And I'm not quite sure what shape the diaphragm is going to be in. This is the typical part that really fails on all of them. And right now I could already see that the body of it is warped, which is a very common problem too. So, I've shown it in many other videos. Kind of repairing that. You take it off, you sand it flat. So you get the diaphragm out. But hopefully I have a new one. Come on. Yeah, so this is supposed to move like butter. That ain't butter. That gives the squirt of fuel when you hit the gas pedal. It shoots raw fuel down the center to kind of get it to keep it from running in a lean situation and dumping, bogging out. So I'm gonna go shop for parts, make sure I got some parts that's gonna go in the cleaner. And just when you think you're done talking about carburetors, you're not. Found the pieces that I needed, the pump, new gasket, that kind of thing. But when you're looking at it, started taking the top apart a little bit more. Something's missing on this one. See what it is? Causes fires on Volkswagens more than anything. Right there is supposed to be a barb where the gas line connects to, and this is the float down below it. It's kind of supposed to look like that. What happens over time, I don't know if it's just the dissimilar metals, hot, cold, the bond between the two of these, it's just pressed in, fails, and the car will be running and this will pull right out of there. And what it does is, the fuel pump's right below it, it's just pumping fuel all over the engine and causes engine fires. That fuel line fails. Some people say the fuel filter. I disagree with the fuel filter. I've never seen the fuel filter itself actually rupture. Either it's the line failing, or more common than not, I see the barb come out at the end of the carburetor. So you can epoxy it in. A couple of things you can kind of go do to get a better fit. But generally when you're changing fuel line, you're doing like a tune-up on a car. On these, on the fuel pump, the same thing. You kind of work them a little bit and put a pair of pliers on, give them a little tweak, and make sure that that is still bonded to the center of it. So we're gonna go steal one out of here. If this one doesn't come out, we'll just use this whole top in place of this one and just swap a bunch of stuff over. Let's go with this one's just the top left over. You'll see that did not take very much to get that out of there. So I like to, I'll put it on sandpaper and I'll run a groove going this way to kind of scuff it up a little bit, and then shove her in the hole. I want to clean that out first. Got a bunch of dirt in it. Take the float stop out, needle and seat. And that's what was inside that needle and seat. So you take it apart, there's more dirt in it yet. So that would have been an issue, because the fuel never would have shut off. You can see where it's touching on the edges, but we're not touching in there. I got to keep sanding that till these 4 points sand smooth going across. That way that accelerator pump won't leak. Hopefully that'll do it right there. This is the bottom half of the carb is put together. I just want to test that accelerator pump, which is this thing over here that we're talking about. So I'm going to throw some fuel in the float bowl. Enough to go bury the pickup for it, and we're going to fire it a couple times. It's not going to go right away, but we should see a stream out of there, which we do. We did. So there is a set. It worked for a second, then it died. I don't know if it showed up on camera. The chamber has two little check balls. And you can be able to see it and get a pointer. So there's a check ball down in this chamber right here, and when you open the side of this up, there's another valve. So one ball, there's a diaphragm, moves one direction, it draws fuel in, and then it pushes back. This check ball closes and it makes the path come up through here. Either one of those get stuck or clogged, it's not going to work. And it did for a second, then got a little bit of dirt behind it. And we'll pop the valve out just in case. Let's go see if it was the valve. Yeah. So it's working, but that is what got clogged. So I'm going to go clean this out, make sure that we have that functioning. Hence why I just did the test. And I'll put that back together, I'll put the carb back on, and see what we get. So hopefully you can see what that is. Just in the process of putting that back on. And I want to try to make it just so I clear this wall, so it goes all the way down to the throttle plate. And as soon as the throttle plate opens, it shoots raw fuel down the intake. So that's what you want. As soon as you hit the gas, you want it to be able to... I'm hitting it. Call it right there. That way it shoots right out of the bottom of the carb, right down the center of the intake. No restrictions. Some people like different setups. I think that works the best for me to get rid of that little off-idle bog. To get rid of it, seems to work the best. That's too loose. It's not going to stay. It's going to have to get epoxy. Yeah, it's going to fall out. I'm going to put a little crush on it to make it somewhat oval. I know where to do it now. That should be good. And I'm going to mix up some epoxy and what's happening with that. That way it has the strength to hold it and then the epoxy to seal it. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Turn the power on. Shove a little screwdriver in my back pocket for tweaking. The games begin. Where's our start button? Here. All wires out of harm's way. For a little while anyway. Ah. Yeah, well, that was hard. That'll help if I turn that on. Good. Doing what it's supposed to anyway. leaking. That's a good sign. Kind of light. Sounds pretty good, even on all four. Burn off the old oil. This is what's called a rear main seal too, behind that flywheel. Common to change that out. That looks like it's a little wet. It's something that you would do anyway. I'm happy with that. So give her a couple of. Good. Let it run a couple more seconds and we'll shut it off. Shoot me in the leg with rust. Kill. Well, that is a nice recovery. You know, again, all the external stuff is just wasted. It's all stuff that we would change out anyway. Probably if, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's let it cool off a little bit. Let's get the plugs back out of it one more time. Do a compression test and see what our final numbers kind of came in at. It should be whatever it is. It should have kind of topped out. That's enough run time for everything to kind of seat and do its thing for the most part. But first, let's start it up one more time. Because I'm a kid. That's all right. See how it does. Just the little things in life that make you happy. Yes, it is. Okay, number one cylinder, first time around it was 50 PSI, then it went to 100. Let's see what we get now. Nothing. So you hook up the power. Stayed at 100, which is fine. I'm more concerned with that. Well, we have 85 on one of the cylinders on the other side. You could hear when it was running too, it was kind of like breaking up a little bit in the beginning of it. You know, you kind of rev it, was like kind of busted up a little here and there, and then it started to clear itself up. I think that's when the number started probably coming up on the cylinder that was iffy. And number two. 105. We had before 85. That might have been the cylinder that was one of the cylinders that were low. So it went from 40 to 85 to 105. Two more to go. The number 3 cylinder was 45 the first time around, then it went to 100. And now we get just shy of 100, but we'll call it 100. The other part too is we haven't readjusted the valves. I'm sure that may help a little bit. I'm going to call that one 97. And then number 4. And last but not least, I would call that 100. I think we are, so we're at all within 7 pounds of each other. Awesome. This is how the engine is laid out, number 1 cylinder. Just as you're looking at it, this is the pulley down below. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So first time around, number 1 cylinder had 50, then it went to 100 and stayed at 100. Number 2 was at 40 pounds, it went to 85. And then after we ran it, went to 105. Third had 60 pounds, went to 95, went to 97. And number 4 cylinder started at 45, 100, and 100 and it stayed. So that 85 came up. That was the one that's kind of probably skipping a beat a little bit, so it cleared itself up. That's good. It's nice. It's right in the range. Everything's nice and close together. It makes for a good running engine. Depending on the engine, what the compression ratio is on it, you start getting below 90. Like if we had a bunch that were at 85, it's pretty much getting pretty tired. And in the beginning, when we had 60, 50, 45, and 40, that's why we had to crank the bejesus out to kind of get it to go. There just wasn't enough compression to light the fuel to get it to go and to get it to fire. But as soon as it starts doing that and we start getting compression, it starts seating the rings, starts seating the valves, everything gets polished up and sealed up, and then it starts to fire. And then once one starts revving up, other ones just kind of take off too, because the RPMs get there, and then yeehaw, it's a party. She's ready to rock and roll. So I am definitely happy that the center of it is good. Everything on the outside of it is pretty much junk. The heater boxes are junk. You know, none of the tune-up parts are worth a damn. The carburetor's fine. But, you know, the pulley on the generator is bent. Who knows if the generator works. All the tune-up parts here would get changed out. The plug wires are broken. The heater boxes, the tins are rotted out on it. You know, you change all that stuff anyway. So this would probably be like a good candidate. If you get a car that you blew the motor up, all your tins and all your externals are good, but the internals of this one are fine. So you can just swap all your tins and exhaust and everything over to the this engine, and you'd be ready to rock and roll again. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to bag and tag it. I'm going to write the information on it. We still have, the biggest thing on this one, I think, is the bail that broke off. Not that it's that big of a deal, but they seized up, and we have it tie wrapped on. The bail broke off on both sides there. Once you get the exhaust out of the way, you can get in with a drill on both sides and get that taken care of. So I'll make a note of that too. Cool. It survives. It came with a car at some point. Maybe we'll go get that and look into that. I probably have enough pieces to put this together and dress it and make it all what it should be, or I have other motors for that car that are a little bit more horsepower we may use. I don't know. All right, guys, I am babbling. I had some fun with it, trying to bring it back to life though, from an engine that wouldn't even turn all the way over, and originally had a rod knock. It was my guess why it got pulled with that adjuster falling right out of it and bashing into the cover, and must have made a hell of a racket when we were running it. Plus probably ran poor too. It probably wasn't even barely pushing the valve in. So number 4 cylinder was probably a dead miss. And here we are. She lives to run a vehicle another day. All right, guys, I'm gonna do some cleanup. Thank you all for hanging out with me, doing a little wrenching, having some fun with old crappy VW stuff. And we'll do it again sometime, probably pretty soon. Till then, I'll see you later.